Greetings and salutations to one and all. Welcome to the end of the night shift week. Happy hump day to ya. I want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now. Those on TuneIn Radio, the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew. Those on PEMGTV.com. Those on all the affiliate stations. And of course, right here at the home of the night shift, the DJ Kevin Stew, KevinStew.com. Glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. I wouldn't even try.
People wanna say, them will talk you any time of day. Hey, you do good, them talking you. You do bad, them talking you. Them never have nothing good to say. Them ask the most questions. Where you from? Where you going? Who are your mother? When last you been home? Mind your funky business. Mind your funky business. Leave me alone. When you see me, leave me alone. Mind your funky business. Mind your funky business. Just leave me alone.
Kicking it off tonight with a little Fimba. It's called Funky Business.
Wait. You again? Many boy for girls, right?
Before all else, I wanna
When you see me liming,
wish my brethren,
interrogation start.
my brother in broadcasting,
Oh, you look good so. Long time I see you. With your hot for dinner. Chicken back. I hear she's
a real edutainer extraordinaire.
oh, you know that.
Blessed Earth Date tomorrow.
Funky business.
Marlon,
Mind your funky
host of Real Rockers.
leave me alone. When you see me, leave me alone.
Blessed Earth Date in
Business.
1 hour and 56 minutes.
Just leave me alone. When you see me, leave me alone. Hey.
Right now, way most expensive clothes. Watch.
Them just a study people business, study people business, study people business. So, hey, why you watching me? Why you are studying me? Mind your own business with your funky fastness. Hey, hey, hey. Mind your funky business. Mind your funky.
That's right, that's the way to celebrate, Marlon.
When you see me, leave me alone. Hey,
So tonight,
funky business. Mind your funky business. Just leave me alone.
we're looking to
Me alone.
raise some awareness, open some eyes.
Them will talk you any time of day. Hey, you do good, them talking you.
Stop the so behind people back.
I have nothing good to say. Them ask the most questions. Where you from?
You know, the people that ask questions and make statements about things that they don't really know.
When last you been home? Mind your funky business.
And the way they're asking the question is not to really gain some awareness. It's just to
Leave me alone.
be inquisitive so that they can come up with an objection. You know, those people.
Right now, way most expensive clothes. Watch.
Them just a study people business.
Because of the nature of tonight's show, I want to say right now, thank you to Pulse Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the show.
Why you are studying me?
Pulse Media Group can do everything that you see right here on KevinStew.com. They can host your website, they can create your website, they can give you streaming services on your website. They can stream your event live, even if you don't have a website.
Mind your funky business.
If you want to take it a step further and have your own broadcast channel, you can do that too.
Your funky business. Mind your funky business.
Give them a call, 754-999-6020, or visit them at pulsemg.com.
Them will talk you any time of day. Hey, you do good, them talking you.
Want to say thanks to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands.
Have nothing good to say.
She sponsors the second segment of the show. She comes to you. She's a massage therapist licensed in the state of Florida. Brings her table, her oils, and her Healing Heavenly Hands.
Way most expensive clothes. Watch.
Give her a call, 954-655-9000. or email her at thealater@att.net.
Mind your own business.
She comes to you,
You're funky.
just not today or tomorrow, or maybe not next week, but you can make an appointment.
Mind your funky business. Mind your funky
Thanks to Reggae Global Entertainment,
alone. But it's me, leave me alone. Hey, mind your funky business.
they can take care of your bookings,
Just leave me alone.
your tour management, your trademarks, your publishing, your copyrights, your legal contracts, and so much more. Give them a call, 954-998-8034. That's 954, sorry. 998-8034.
Them ask the most questions. Where you from? Where you going?
And of course, GMAT Music Solutions,
When last you been home?
they take care of your live production.
Most expensive goods. Watch.
Sound, light, stage production services, musicians, singers, audio engineers, DJs, bands.
Why you watching me?
You can even do your shopping on their website, gmatmusicsolutions.com.
With your funky fastness.
Give them a call, 9754-307-GMAC. That's 754-307-4622.
Funky business. Mind your funky business. Leave me alone. When it's me, leave me alone. Hey, mind your funky business.
So my guests tonight,
Just leave me alone. When it's me, leave me alone.
yes, I said guests with an S.
Wanna say, them will talk you any time of day. Hey, you do good. You
We'll be able to answer the question of what the butterfly was thinking as a caterpillar.
Where you going? Who are your mother?
Of course, it's metaphorically speaking.
Mind your funky business. Mind your funky business. Leave me alone. When it's me, leave me alone. Hey, mind your funky.
Just waiting for them to connect with me right now.
Way most expensive goods. Watch.
Them just a study people business, study people business, study people business. So, hey, why you watching me? Why you are studying me? Mind your own business with your funky fastness. Hey, hey, hey. Mind your funky business. Mind your funky business. Leave me alone. When it's me, leave me alone. Hey, mind your funky business. Mind your funky business. Just leave me alone. When it's me, leave me alone. Hey, well, I don't care what people wanna say. Them will talk you any time of day. Hey, you do good, them talking you. You do bad, them talking you. Them never have nothing good to say. Them ask the most questions. Where you from?
Okay, so without much further ado,
Who are your mother? When last you been home? Mind your funky business.
I bring to you the individuals of the moment. And I start with one. And this one is, when I tell you, a heart walking around in the image of a man. That is pretty much how I see him. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Roy. How you doing, Roy?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate those words, very kind words.
Well, you know, every now and then I have a few kind words, and this is one of those times.
So I'm doing pretty good. I'm here with the other guests, and I mean, you just want to talk about the journey that we've been on, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know what? Let me just name them right now and just say greetings and welcome to them quickly one time. They'll come on as the show progresses, but Roy, Kat, James, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so Roy, we're gonna start with you
Okay,
because I met you first.
of course. Well, I mean, it's a long journey. If you have any questions, just feel free to stop me. It's kind of it's just a journey. It's a lot of information. Um, this is something I've known that I was or wanted to be since I could probably remember my first few memories. So this wasn't something that I just spontaneously wanted to do. I don't think anybody spontaneously wants to dive headfirst into something as scary as this.
Now,
Um,
when you say this is something you wanted to be, what do you mean?
yeah, so being born female,
Mm.
um, I always wanted, or I always had this feeling inside me that something was not right,
Ah,
something was normal, and in my experience, every experience is different and unique.
right.
It wasn't necessarily something with my body. It was more something, how I saw myself and how others saw me.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily, oh, I didn't like my hair or any other body part. You understand?
Right.
Everybody has a different experience in this community. And I've known since a very young age. In fact, I knew that, and it's kind of, I don't want to say ironic, but my brother also, being that we were so close, he also experienced similar feelings that he wanted to be a girl.
Mm.
So it's quite we kind of like it's kind of like a joke now that we were born off the switched at birth. But
Inside joke.
yeah, everybody says it. Everybody that knew us, they
Right.
always knew me as the kid who wanted to play with the boys and wanted to be outside and get dirty. I hated dolls. God, I can tell you how many times I cried when I saw Barbie.
Oh my goodness.
And it's funny because I would be crying because I wanted to play outside with the boys, and coming from a very strict Catholic Hispanic background,
Mm.
that's you don't see that. You don't see the girls playing with the boys. You see the boys outside and the girls inside cleaning and doing what you would normally see in a very heteronormative normative household. So
Right.
so coming to terms with this was not easy because of all of that. There was a lot of pushback. I wasn't allowed to, if I had to wear a dress when I would go to church, I had to do all these things. So I was taught from a very young age that this is how things are, and you kind of just go with the flow and don't go against things.
Right.
So once, I hit my teenage years and I started to experiment with my sexuality and, things that were outside of what I considered normal, ironically enough, I ran into James during my journey, and we actually both were able to come to this revelation together. We had known each other since we were young and shared these similar feelings. So it was nice to have somebody to talk to who related. And I mean, nowadays you see a lot of trans advocacy online, on TV, and it's very known.
Right.
Back then, when I was a kid, that was science fiction to me.
Mm-hmm.
And even back then, being gay was that was still crazy to a lot of people.
Right.
So this was like taboo. This is something you don't tell your other family members. So after I graduated high school, I already knew that I was very in touch with my masculine side. Let me tell you, I have a black belt. Um, I like to hang with I like to hang with the boys. I never really had any female friends. I did a lot of guy stuff.
Right. Right.
I went camping. I was with my father all the time. And once I got out of high school, and I realized, well, you know, I, it was a weird revelation. You have to hit rock bottom, and that's when you finally know where to go. I was at my rock bottom, or at least what I considered my rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I had everything any young adult could have wanted. I had a home. I was married. I had a car, I had a job, I had it all. But something was not there. I was not happy, and I really didn't know. And I was clinging on to a lot of other materialistic things. And until I really saw deep down inside and went to therapy and really got what I needed to get out, out,
Yeah.
when I started to really express how I wanted to be. I cut my hair. It took me a long time to cut my hair. And, a long, that therapy was more for me to cut my hair than anything else. I wasn't allowed to cut my hair till I turned 15. So that was like sacred for me. And, one of the things I was worried about was, am I not going to, and this is something very superficial, but I wanted to make sure I look good with short hair. Not everybody can rock the short hair look.
Right.
So,
I
but
think
once
I think I do it pretty well.
yeah, right? You're rocking it, man. But yeah, I mean, once I started to go on this like journey, not for my family members, not for my friends. This was the first time that I really started to do things for myself.
Mm.
And I started to learn that, if I wanted to really learn who I am and figure out where I'm going, I'm doing this alone.
Right.
This is a journey that it's you and your therapist, basically. That and it's a long one, but once you get there and once you start the hormones, if that's what you want to do, every like I said, every experience is different.
Yeah.
In my case, I decided to go and take hormone replacement therapy about 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was hard because I was working and socially transitioning is not the easiest.
Right.
You have people who knew you as female and said she and used your dead name on a daily basis.
Right.
And now having to change people's minds who barely knew you and had them, call you something completely different, something that they could not fathom or see yet.
So you did your
So
transition while working at the same
while
place?
Working. Yeah, while working. And
okay.
I could tell you there were many times where I considered quitting my job because this feeling was so overwhelming. There was a lot of people I would lean on for, assistance or advice on how to deal with this, and just nobody can teach you. You just have to do it. You just need to not care what anybody thinks and just go head first. And there's no handbook that's going to show you, that's going to teach you how to stop living for other people and start living for yourself.
Right.
So after that moment, I feel personally I've blossomed from 2 years ago. I'm a completely different person. And if you knew me back then and you haven't met me now, then you really don't know me.
Right.
So you should really get the chance to know me again, because it's a completely different experience. I feel as a person I've grown. I don't even know the person that used to be here 2 years ago, and I'm so glad that I did what I did.
No regrets, huh?
No regrets.
That's right.
And when you're at that point, you just want to be your most authentic self. And once I knew that I was headed in that direction, I decided to go through surgery last June with Dr. Sassani. He's a very, very reputable surgeon.
Right.
Very, very, I don't want to say famous, but very well known in the trans community down here in South Florida. He is like the best, I would say. If you need anything done cosmetically, I think he is the one to go, and it's a safe place.
I see. You had sent me one of your pictures, which I think whenever I look at this picture, I say, you're just very proud of this picture.
Yes.
And
yes.
I know you sent it to me so that I could share it. So I'm going to share it with those who are watching right now.
Definitely. Go ahead.
So this is after your surgery.
Yeah. It was a mile marker, I can say, and an intense mile marker. It was my moment saying to myself, this is it, there's no going back. You can't pretend anymore.
Right.
You can only look forward. There's no looking back anymore. And let me tell you, surgery is serious stuff. I thought it was going to be easy. I was bedridden for like almost 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, you would think something like cosmetic surgery like that, it was some serious stuff, but it was really worth it. I can't even tell you in words how my confidence has gone up. You know, being able to take off my shirt in public, being able to go to the beach without having to wear the compressors that typically trans men wear prior to surgery.
Right.
It's quite intense. You wear that for more than, several hours a day. You got to give these guys props because, to be our authentic self isn't always the easiest
It's not
thing.
easy. Yeah.
It's not. That's something that compresses your chest. You got to, it's some serious stuff. And once you get there, it's so liberating. There's really no words for it.
All right. So I'm going to bring James on now.
How you doing, Kevin?
I am well. I'm great.
Great,
James,
man.
welcome to the show again.
Appreciate it.
So you and Roy knew each other from your children.
Yeah, we had known each other from around middle school. He was in the 7th grade and I was in the 8th grade, and we kind of bumped into each other in the hallway, but we never really sat down and actually communicated.
Right.
And then we met again when I had graduated high school, and they had just been in their last year of high school. So it was quite a long time since we saw each other.
Now, what was your journey like?
Mine was a little different, but it had a lot of the same tones to it, considering a lot of the things that we touched base on together were very common, considering a lot of the guys like us are very common with that.
Right.
I had that feeling of being lost as a kid, kind of trying to figure out what it was inside of me that made me feel some sort of different way, and having a difficulty with connecting with other children like me. It was a lot of different things that were pretty difficult to, comprehend when you were a kid. So it took me quite a while to come to terms with what was going on. Even through high school, I struggled a lot. But once I hit the age of 21, I believe it was, that's when my mind was just full speed go. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. And leading up to that, honestly, it was kind of a rush, because once I was 20, I started figuring out maybe I want to cut my hair, maybe I want to do something different with my life, because I feel like I can't live like this anymore. So I did therapy for a little while, and then honestly, after 3 months of therapy, I was full speed go, man. I went cut my hair, I went and got my hormones. It was just a complete turnaround.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you do the transition while you were at your job that you were at, like Roy?
So interestingly enough, I actually had a very positive experience counterpart to Roy. When it came to my work experience having transitioning, everyone that I went to, no matter what position I was in, I've literally had maybe 4 or 5 jobs since I started transitioning, and every single time, man, everyone treated me with respect. It was a very easy transition. People welcomed me with open arms. They treated me the way I wanted to be treated, and nobody looked the other way.
Nice.
It was a very good experience.
I've been a little bit neglectful of the stew pot. I want to say, just real quickly, you guys in the stew pot. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just caught up in these stories right now. So big ups to those in the stew pot. Those listening in, wondering what the stew pot is, it is what others call a chat room on their sites. We're fancy over here on kevinstew.com. We call it the stew pot. Come on in. The water is always fine. It's where we keep things bubbling and interactive. It's a judgment-free zone. All we ask is that you be respectful, because this is where you come to have acceptance through enlightenment. That's what the night shift is all about. So right now we're talking with James, and we are learning what life is like being transgender. And when I was thinking about it, about this show, and I've been thinking about this show for a long time, a very long time. It's not just no. It's a very long time, and I usually try to find a way to word my posts so it gets people thinking even before the show starts. And all I could think of is, did the caterpillar wonder, did the butterfly feel uncomfortable while it was a caterpillar? And that is how I see someone who is in a similar situation to you, where you didn't feel comfortable. And that seems to be the general theme thus far. Well, from Roy was saying, he just didn't feel comfortable as a girl.
Yeah, that's kind of the overview for most of us. Most of us, it's like you're kind of drowning in your own skin, and that's a really
Hmm.
bad way to put it. But to go back to what you were saying about the butterfly, when we get to this metamorphosis that we can just learn, that we can become who we want to become, and be openly accepted and have things come to us without struggle, without discrimination, without pain.
Right.
That's just that's the most beautiful thing when you actually get to have that opportunity to become that butterfly you've always wanted to be.
Right. Right.
Think in my case it's
When
a little more difficult though. You're going from like a caterpillar to like a moth.
you know, listen, there are people that look at moths and see them as this dreary looking nocturnal butterfly. And then they look at the butterfly, and it's like, ooh, look at its beauty, look at it. There are some moths that people think are butterflies because they're that attractive. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, you know, we don't go with what the masses might say, because we don't know who taught the masses. So, and when I say we, I'm talking about me, myself, and I, us three.
I'm gonna have to start using that when I talk about my bills. We, me.
So, all right, we're gonna come back to you because there's some general questions that I want to ask, and I want the three of you to get in on it. But I want people to get an idea of who Kat is before we do that.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kat, what's happening?
Nothing much. Just enjoying this podcast.
Hey, you see, you of all these guys, of the whole group, of all of you, and I have had the luxury. Um, I have to make an adjustment to your image here, and I didn't do it while I was talking to James. Um, I've had the luxury of hanging out with you guys, and I do consider it a luxury, and I do use guys generally,
Oh, you.
and you all were family to me for a weekend, and I enjoyed every moment of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kat. Those of you watching, this
Yo,
Kat, tell us your story.
mine's a bit different than most. See, when it comes to being born in the wrong body, for me, it's more so clarify I'm non-binary, meaning I don't see myself as nor male nor female.
Right.
And for me, that started very young. Um, One of my first memories of it was watching one of my family member's closest friends going through her quinceañera. And I
Mhm.
loved everything about it. I wanted one for me, but knowing growing up as a little boy wouldn't happen for a Latino boy because quinceañeras were for the girls and gowns didn't come in a size 12 yet.
Mm.
But I also noticed that it wasn't so much wanting to be a girl because there were certain things about being a girl I didn't want, and there were certain things about being a boy I didn't want, and I noticed I wanted to be neither, to just be and enjoy. My favorite thing I say is I sit, like any cat does, and it's true. If I find something I love to wear, I wear it, and I wear it proudly. As you noticed when on our trip, my outfit changes were very different and never the same.
Oh yeah.
From day one to day two, I was two completely different people.
Right.
That's just how I am.
You are who you woke up feeling to be.
Yep. For me, it's more so just feeling my skin, feeling it out. Some days we want to wear track pants. Some days we want to go all out and get dressed up. For me, it'll differ if I want to be looking practically, how do I say this, as masculine as can be or as feminine as can be, or somewhere in the middle where you confuse an old lady down the street. But either way, it's fun, and I enjoy those experiences.
Right, right. In the stew pot, people are saying, it's kind of like you guys were born in the wrong bodies, and thanks for sharing your stories and having this dialogue with me. And with looking at your picture here right now, one comment is loving the makeup. Now, people, let me tell you something. If there's one thing about Kat, is that when Kat puts on makeup, it's art. It's not just somebody putting on a little eyeshadow here and a little blush there. No, you're talking about artwork. Walking canvas. that's Kat.
How I feel.
Yeah. And I guess someone says you're quite the fashionista.
Thank you. You should see my shoe collection.
With you saying you identify as binary, who puts gender to art? It's kind of fitting for you.
I agree.
So, yes, go ahead.
I agree because for me, like growing up, seeing all the binaries of being a man, masculine, yard work, building, being, I don't know, a breadwinner, and then I grew up, oddly enough, with 9 women raising me, and I saw the hyper-femininity, the power of being a woman and taking strides in your beauty, and I was just like, why can't I have both? And one thing I used to get in trouble with a lot as a kid was actually ripping the head and body parts off of Barbies and Kens and putting them back together in different formations so that Ken had a nice hourglass and Barbie had washboard ass. I wanted both so I can mix them up so I can see something that looks like what I saw when I looked in the mirror.
Right.
It both, and it looks cool.
So, so James, well, not James, but Roy could identify with you on some parts and just kind of hate you on others. Because, you wanted the Barbie, but you wanted the Barbie to rip the head off. I'm sure if y'all were kids together, he'd be fine with ripping the Barbie's head off. He'd be like, I can hear Kid Roy going, "Oh, let me.
Let me try that. Good idea.
Ripping the heads off."
Maybe my mom would stop buying them for me.
So you just raised a point that I really want to address: family. And for this, I'm gonna have all you guys chime in for this. As it relates to family.
So how is
What kind of
family, you know?
support do you guys get or not get, as the case may be?
Um. So, yeah, everybody is different. I mean, just look at your family and see. You. I feel like you kind of see their true colors when things like this happen, because to them, no matter. I mean, unless you have a very progressive family, I think it can come off as a shock to most. And a lot of people can grieve, and grieving takes a long time. And when you're
Right.
grieving something like that, you might not be as supportive as you want to be.
Mm.
Um, you know, I don't always blame parents or family members when it's kind of a shock and they're not super supportive at the beginning, because I can understand it's very hard for them to understand given they're cisgendered. When you're
Right.
cisgendered, you align with your gender identity, and you don't have thoughts like these. If you're cis, it just doesn't cross your mind. So to them, it was like taboo or black magic or the devil. And I mean, I think everybody eventually comes around, and that's what happened to me. I think my family, first it was about, they thought it was all about just being a boy. It had really nothing to do with me until they actually saw me flourish. I used to not talk to anybody. I was so antisocial. I really didn't have a lot of friends, and I had a lot of unhealthy habits that I would indulge in. And until my family really, they saw me progress as a person. They saw me, I went from being depressed all the time to actually taking initiative with my life. I'm going to the gym. I want to get the body I want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start going to therapy, not just for my gender identity, but for maybe all the other shit that's bothering me that I might have bottled up inside. So
Right.
I, as a person, just started to take better care of myself, and they saw that, and I got a job, I held the job, I was happy to be a guy working, a man working. The fear and the of working that I used to have was ridiculous. I would lose jobs. I would jump from one to another because I could not hold it. But when my family saw me progress, they were like, "Wow, this, obviously this had to happen, because we obviously didn't know who you were hidden under all that fake person you used to be." So now that they see that and they have that aha moment, like, wow, okay, Roy needed this. This was for Roy, and even if you don't like it, you can't help but notice the 180 change.
Mm.
That's what I like. I don't care if you agree with me,
Right.
you don't agree with me, but if you take a look at how I lived my life before and how I live my life now, it's a completely different change, and you don't have to agree with me or like me to, notice something like that.
Right.
So
The
for me, I had a very interesting family dynamic that not a lot of people get. I actually grew up having a lesbian mother and having two moms as a household I was used to seeing. When it came to me being who I was, my mom surprisingly was a bit standoffish due to her growing up during the 80s and 90s, seeing being LGBT as the worst possible thing in the world, and everyone hating you and assuming terrible, terrible things about you, because sadly during those times the AIDS crisis was flourishing,
right.
and she didn't want me growing up to face the same oppressions, be attacked, and just for being myself. Ironically enough, a lot of people say my mother looks just like me or a doppelganger because her hair is just as short as mine is, and we look the exact same. She's got facial hair, but that's okay. I can wax mine sometimes.
Right.
And, growing up with that, it was very interesting because I grew up more in the LGBTI of the world, being able to see people flourish as themselves and not exactly follow the norms. I mean, my mom, I don't think I've ever seen her shop in a women's section ever in my life. But
Really?
yes, my mom is dresses as masculine as she can, and that's how I grew up. And I saw that as a norm. It was all right. That's cool. So that's fine. I mean, for her, she completely identifies as a woman, and she's proud to be a lesbian woman. And for me, I was like, that's cool for you, mom, but I'm a little different. Something's a little not right here. I look down and things aren't correct. And for her, it was, she couldn't comprehend that because she just thought clothes would be enough, and for me, it's not.
Right.
But yeah, it was very interesting growing up with her and having a grandmother who was surprisingly super duper religious, hard Bible go for, and she was the first person that when I told her everything and how I felt, took me down to Fifth Avenue in New York, bought me a pair of heels, and forced me to walk down every street until I got home twice, so that I knew that I'd never fall again. And to this day, I
Wow.
do sprint races. I'm pretty sure I could do a 5K in some stilettos, and I appreciate her for being that supportive.
No,
If not, I don't know.
that is love. That's not just support. That's love.
A lot of love. Yeah. And the boys have met my grandparents, and they see it. They see the love, because the first thing my grandmother handed me when I got there was, "You don't have on enough blush," so she gave me some more blush. And I was like, okay, well, like I said, more blush.
I love it. I'd like to meet your grandmother.
She's a character. She's a firecracker. She is funny.
I'm sure she'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. She's also, for those who are commenting on my makeup, thank you. I'm actually following this pod as we're watching. She was actually a great influence on my makeup because growing up, she had a lot of heart complications and would wind up in the hospital from strokes and heart failure. Thank God, she's still fighting and she's still going. But my biggest memory and my reason for my love of makeup was the second she woke up, every time we're talking open heart surgeries or any complication that happened, the first thing she did when she woke up, she'd look at me and she goes, "Is my makeup on? And can you help me put on my makeup?" And I watched makeup be her war paint and keep her fighting as a woman. And it got her up every morning at the crack of dawn, and that's the first thing she did was shower in a makeup. And it taught me to use it as a weapon and use it to make myself pop in ways that no one else could. I mean, I've been told many times, if someone walks into the room, their eyes go directly to me. If it's not my face, my clothes. It's not my clothes, it's my shoes. Everywhere I go, I get stopped for something, and I'm proud of it.
Now,
all thanks to her.
When looking at makeup, did you ever see it as your grandmother using that to hide?
No, actually. A lot of people say that women hide behind makeup and it's something to cover what they look like. No, never. I watched her put it on and face the world stronger than she's ever been. If she has no makeup on and she's home and she's relaxing, once her face is off, she's off. She's going to bed. It's done. The day's over. Calm her day. The day is done. She's going to bed. She's happy. She did what she needed to do.
Right.
I remember I'd come home late, 2, 3 in the morning, and she still had on her makeup, which meant she had a point to make still. There was something still to say.
Right.
And yeah, it was never a shield. It was always her sword. Some people have a pen, some people have a sword. She had eyeliner, and she rocked it well.
There you go. That's it right there. She had eyeliner and rocked it. I love it. I tell you, your grandmother is the bomb diggity. Okay? So what is it like with you guys now when y'all have your family gatherings? because it's that makes for an interesting dynamic when you have the aunts and the uncles, especially the ones that you moved away from and they haven't seen you in years.
So when it comes to family, I'm gonna take over here. Um, First and foremost, when we have family gatherings, it's like four families all in one. So that's the first war. Um,
The first
yeah,
war.
yeah. Come on, tell me that's not what you feel when you're dealing with your family. Bam, bam, gotta get the battle done and go on to the next one. So when you're coming to family, you've got so much family to kind of clue in and deal with, and have to explain yourself a million times.
Hmm.
Oh my God, I heard you're, and yeah, I am, and it's so. In the beginning, family is not easy. Family is very confused, and you're just taking everybody by the hand to kind of lead them where you're trying to go and have them understand, hey, this is how it's going to be now. This makes me happy. You're just kind of explaining your situation to everyone.
Right.
You lose some people in that, and unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. When you invest yourself into something that makes you completely happy, it's part of that. Um, People walk away when they see that they can't deal with it. Some people open you up and make you feel like you've never experienced this side of the family with them before, and it's like a whole new person just got exposed to you because you realize the person inside of you just got exposed to them, and they're so welcoming and they love you so much, and they make you feel like you should have just told them when you were a baby when you didn't even know what the hell's going on. But
Right.
there's just some people that part of your family is gonna conjoin their soul with yours on your journey, and they're gonna make it their point to make you feel warm on your journey.
Yeah.
But other people are gonna make it their mission to make you feel bad about it, and that's just how life is anyway. When you're outside in the world.
Let me ask you guys about that. Those of you listening in that want to share, ask a question, give a word of encouragement, 773-789-STEW, 773-789-7839. You can call, you can text, you can WhatsApp. And of course, I invite you all to jump into the Stew Pot. Just go to kevinstew.com and bam, you're there. You don't have to change your name if you don't want to. You can remain anonymous. But all we ask is that you remain respectful. This is a judgment free zone. This is where we come to have acceptance through enlightenment. Now, the negatives, the people that are mean, the people that pretend to want to know more about who you are, but just want to get ammunition to use against you. What has that been like?
I actually had a similar situation. Like that's kind of weird because you got it you nailed it on the head. So, and I'm not gonna specify where this happened, because I think we're in a better place now.
Okay.
But it did hurt my feelings. Like it more than my feelings, it just hurt my core because this was somebody that I was relatively getting close to. And when I started to come out, people were starting to talk. I guess what threw that person off was when my voice started to drop. The first question they
Mm,
asked was, "Are you getting sick?" Stuff like that. They
right.
kind of wanted to like not believe the rumors.
Mm,
And then that person, and I got close to them. We spoke about very intimate family relations because I was dealing with some stuff. And at that point, when you've crossed those lines, you feel comfortable around a person.
right.
So we met. We decided to have dinner, lunch, and I thought I was going to go have a conversation and come out to this person. And wow, I felt like we were going to have this moment where we were going to connect, and then they were going to be another support. But to have my heart crushed when they told me I consider a few inappropriate things, that I was going to get sick and that I could have possibly gotten cancer, just a few things that they've thrown in that they literally went out of their way, took me to lunch to
Mm,
tell me this. Mind you, I thought we were going to hang out. and
Right.
catch up. And then they ask me, so what's this happening? You cut your hair, you're dressing more like a guy. And I'm thinking I'm gonna just take my shot, and I go ahead and I shoot it, and I get shot down with, oh, the Lord wanted you to be a woman. You need to be a woman. You're beautiful, and that's the first thing everybody says. You were beautiful. You were this. You were that. And then that moment hit me, and you realize that those people never really knew you.
Right.
They like the idea of it, and that's how you kind of avoid getting hurt when somebody else is trying to get to know you to hurt you. That's how you avoid that. That's on them. That's not on you. The moment you take it on you, you take it personal, and you're taking that home. And that was a hard lesson I had to learn, because I avoided the person for quite some time. And in the position I was in, I was not really able to avoid them. You get what I mean? I was
Right.
not allowed.
Right.
So when you're in those positions, I learned to be patient. I learned to have faith in what I knew, what I was. And in my head, the way I was able to justify what she was telling me was, if God made me in His perfect image, and He put these thoughts, these feelings in me, and He gave me the strength and the resources to become who I am. He knew that I could overcome this challenge that I was going to be born with, and that's kind of how those are the affirmations I have to tell myself. And you kind of have to learn how to do that when you face people who are like that, who are out to get you.
You know, that is one of the other interesting things. And someone just mentioned it in the stew pot. There are people who use religion. And when it comes to religion, I go off on a little bit of a tangent. Some family and people can be so mean and often use religion to hide their own ignorance. That was the comment in the pot. And it's true. What I have found is that people mistake spirituality and religion.
Yes,
I told
very much.
someone very recently, I grew up in church. I was very active in church. I was always spiritual, but I was never religious. And on the surface, you'd think, wait, what? Well, I look at it this way. If I was religious, I would stick to one church body. I have gone to and worshipped in many different churches on different days of the week, in different languages. At one point, I was a part of a Spanish church on the praise and worship team.
Nice.
Yeah, I was singing praise and worship songs in Spanish. Kevin no habla español. However, however, I was doing it and I was understanding what was going on in the services. That's not religion. That's spirituality. And with spirituality, you take with you the belief in a higher being, whatever that being may be, or whomever that being may be for you. One of the things I've realized is throughout the various religions, the stories are similar. And it baffles me that there is all this conflict between these religions, between these quote unquote churches. It doesn't make sense. If the place that you go for love, which is supposed to be unconditional love, that is teaching you to not love, to isolate, to separate from. So how does this really work? So here it is, someone like Roy growing up in church, and not being able to draw on the people that you knew as a church family.
Mm-hmm.
What really, how did that make you feel, really?
Well,
Did it
being in
make you
church.
turn away from? I know you mentioned that it was you resigned to the fact that you would say, hey, God created me this way and he gave me the tools, he provided the tools to make me be who he created me to be. It took a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of a transformation, but before you could get to that point where you could say that, before you could have those affirmations, what was the feeling like for you?
Very lonely. When you don't have constant reassurance, and what I mean by reassurance is yourself. You don't need to have somebody else reassure you. You can reassure yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're very lonely, and in the church, I felt like there was something wrong with me. I never questioned anybody else. I questioned myself, like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And you can't, especially in a church or family setting where you can't defend yourself with those kind of affirmations. You kind of just, I mean, it's horrible. You feel like you're alone. There's a huge rate in suicides in trans people in the trans umbrella, especially when they're not living in their true identity.
Mm.
And that's, my mom, quote unquote, told me this when I had one of my really bad meltdowns where I just didn't understand how to do how to move forward. And she put it in perspective with me. And this is, I think, where we first had our moments of realization that I needed to do this. And she told me, you need to stop surviving. You need to start living, because you've been surviving your entire life. And you don't know how to live anymore. And it hurt to hear that, because it was the truth. And I sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of us are raised in that mentality, and that's a habit you have to unlearn, because you don't realize you're surviving until you see what living is like. And yeah, you don't want to ever. It's a bad road to be in, to not have support or to not have the confidence to say that. I mean, I was in a good place at that moment, and it was fairly on in my transition.
Right.
I mean, there's very few words. I'm sure Kat and James have other words, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
If you need support, find support. And if you really can't find support around you, you need to find support within yourself, because sometimes that's what happens. You don't have anybody, and you have to be that. You have to coddle and take care of the child inside of you.
So, well, we know Kat had the luxury of having some support.
Well, it did not come without repercussion.
Right.
My grandmother, for those who have ever been to New York, you've seen the beautiful cathedrals that lie all across the entire city. The one we went to was probably the biggest and most terrifying one. It took up an entire block on its own, and it was huge. And
Right.
anyone went to that church. And my grandmother, I remember telling, it was me and my grandmother and my younger family member, we were all going to church. That I don't know why I decided that was the morning to tell my grandmother I was different, but I did. She didn't really say anything till we got there. Oddly enough, for my luck, the seminar was on basically being homophobic. And my grandmother turned to me during a quiet part and goes, well, the Pope's fine with it. This church may not be, but the Pope is. And the Pope is a vesicle of God, so you know what? I'm fine with it. He's fine with it. I'm fine with it. It's fine. And I looked at her. I was like, wait, let me get this straight. You just went against everything you believed in 0.5 seconds because the Pope was fine with it. And she was like, yeah, I'm cool with it. It works. And then proceeding after that, we went to buy the shoes. But my other favorite part of this was my younger family member who was very young looked at me and goes, "You're different, but they're saying it's wrong." And I was like, "Yes," and some people can believe that. And he, in all 70 pounds of being like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old, stands up and goes, "Let me get this straight. You don't believe in people being different and being born in the wrong body, but you believe a snake can talk. This is bull. I'm out."
Wow.
How his face works. And it took us all for a loop. It did, because we were just like, well, I don't know how to process this now.
Wow. Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings.
And I kind of had to sit there and go, well, I guess we can't come back here anymore. And I don't think my grandma's ever went back. But I get stopped on the street saying, people will stop me and say, "God loves you. You don't have to do this." And I laugh because I'm like, well, whoever this being may be, whoever believes to believe, for me, well, they do love me. Whatever, they put these things in our way, our challenges, our path, because they know they make us stronger, and this was my way to make me stronger. And I'd love to stop people who tell me that it's wrong, that I'm following a darker being, whatever they want to say. Because, no. If you're going to practice what you preach, you follow your Bible so hard to tell me I'm wrong, but at the same time, in the same breath, you went to get a tattoo that said that, and in your precious book, it also says you can't do that. You also can't have shrimp. You can't have meat on Fridays. There's a lot of things you can't do, but you're doing it. But me, being me is wrong. That's cool. I'll let you ponder on that one.
Right. Go ahead.
Continue what you were saying.
I was just saying, someone just posted in the pot, if people claim they believe in God, then they must know that their God created all beings just how we are.
Mm-hmm. I like the stone, the non-virgin wife, etc.
Right.
You imagine if we took the Bible like literal?
Yeah, if we really listen to the Bible, "Thou without sin shall cast the first stone." Ain't no stones being thrown, honey. Nobody got no sin.
and that's just it. That's just it. Because, and we often decide that when it comes to being religious, we take aspects of the Bible that we feel comfortable with, and that becomes the rod and the staff that lead us. And when I say we, I mean generally speaking now. It doesn't really matter what religion you hail from, what church, what branch of the church you hail from. It's pretty much the same thing. Their doctrines would be based on certain aspects of the Bible. And the fact that we may not have all the books of the Bible, 1, 2, the translation may be different from how it was actually originally written, because there are some words that you don't have English translations for. But yet still they were interpreted by us, humans, men, and put in this book that has been the bestseller for centuries.
Hey man, you want to sell a millionaire, you got to make it interesting. What's more interesting than the Bible?
Well, it really doesn't come any more interesting than the Bible. And I'm not knocking the Bible in any way, shape, or form.
It's my favorite fairy tale.
My problem is the people who interpret it and then decide that their interpretation is the right interpretation. You know,
That's my problem because, you know, the thing about, let's say we talk about art in general. Art is left to interpretation, you
right,
know?
right.
That can be any which way you perceive. But when it comes to morality, you can't interpret morality any way you want. There's a piece of morality you have to keep pure, and that comes with how it is conveyed to others, what it does for others, what it does for you, your community. You know, it's like you can only base so much of your thinking on anything related to hatred. You have to think of the things that are related to love and caring for others, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to keep that positive morale, because if you don't, then you're literally just falling into everything else of the fiction that is our society, you know?
Right.
And it just goes on for eons on how you can be a horrible person, but nobody wants to right the wrongs. Nobody wants to, you know, really see what we can do if we all do come together as a community and stop separating.
That is another one of the things that kills our community. The separation.
I agree.
We can't seem to come together. And it's funny because if we all closed our eyes and communicated with each other, we could only tell the difference by the tones of our voices or the languages that we speak. But here it is. We have our eyes, well, our physical eyes open. And now we say, okay, you are different from me because we look different. Or I can see that you act different.
You know, that's fun to bring up considering what transgender people want to achieve. Because most of them don't want to be different from their heteronormative sisters, brothers, parents, mothers, you know, things like that.
Right.
You want to just be able to be you in society. And that's pretty much what anybody wants. Nobody wants to be perfect unless you want to, and in that case, good fucking luck. But, you know, the whole point of being human is the fact that we can make choices. We can understand each other on deeper levels. We can understand ourselves on deeper levels. Being human is so much more than what our society believes, because there's this disconnect with society that we live with, and that's just unfortunate considering that's what separates us all, and the separation just grows and grows every year.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. As you guys go through your daily lives, and I know it's not like how it used to be. You know, with social isolation and all.
Right.
and you know, jobs closing, people working from home, so the interaction is not as much.
Yeah.
But let's go to the near past, the recent past. Let's go back to like in January or the end of last year into the beginning of this year. Roy, you had at this point gotten to where you are now, where people see the comfortable you. When I say the comfortable you, I mean the you that you are comfortable being.
Yeah.
James, people around you are already know you. Kat, you are a celebrity in your own right. Because there are people that would come to you to consult on makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So in where you have gotten to in your lives now, do you think there's anything that the people around you could learn, anything more that you'd want them to know? Is there anything that you'd want to teach some people around you about just being alive, living, being themselves, their true selves.
Yeah, there's actually if you open your eyes, you'll see that there's a lot more of us than you think, and a good amount of us are in stealth, and you don't even know. So the one thing I hate when people who maybe it can be ignorant. So one thing that I dislike, when people say is, "This is what trans looks like." This is, I like guys or I like girls, but I won't date you if you're trans. First of all, how the hell do you know what trans looks like? You don't.
Right.
There's a lot of. I've had people talk, nasty words to the LGBT community to my face, and it's like, yeah, I know I'm male passing now, but you don't know that. You don't know what kind of experience I've lived. So when you're speaking hatred, you could be speaking it straight to somebody's face who's living that reality. And all I can say is be kind, be open, because you never know. I mean, it's not that we're coming out of nowhere and we're just popping up. It's just we've always been around. You guys are now accepting it, and we are less fearful for our lives to show our presence, because back in the day, even now, it's sad to say this time in 2019, 2018, 2020, there are still trans people of color being murdered. And nothing's being done for them.
Yeah.
I would expect that in the 80s and in the 90s, but
Right.
not today. So be kind, because you don't know what that person is struggling with. And just, if you're ever confused or in question and don't know how to ask, the best way to be, politically correct is just ask for someone's pronouns. If you don't know, hey, what are your pronouns? And that will tell us you are an ally. And we will tell you, oh, wow, I go by he, him. I go by she, her. I go by they, them. You immediately bridge that gap that you were so afraid to bring. Because a lot of people tell me, like, I don't know how to approach somebody. I don't know if they're a girl or a guy. Well, it's very simple. What are your pronouns? Whether they look like that or not, you respect them, period, and then you move on with your day. That's all we want. We want that decency.
I've never heard that. What are your pronouns?
That is the most appropriate way to ask somebody what their identity is. I wouldn't go, hey, what's your gender identity? That's a little invasive. But if you're curious or you don't know or you don't want to step on anybody's toes or be offensive, everybody will answer. That's kind of like a universal thing. You go to a transgender group, nobody starts talking unless everybody goes through these little, a little bit about me. The first question, please stand up, state your name and your pronouns. And you don't question it. They might be in a different stage of their transition to somebody else. Somebody who's been transitioning for 10 years is not going to be the same as one person who's been in 1 year.
Right.
But regardless of where they are in their journey, they still deserve to be respected. Their identity is a man, then you address them as a man. It doesn't matter what you think a man looks like. That's not your reality. Don't worry about that. You're not sleeping with them, so it should not be of your concern. You just need to respect it, and a lot of people don't get that, and maybe they're afraid. I get it. It's a hard topic. You like you just said, you didn't even know that's the way to bring it up, but that's the most comfortable way to approach it. What are your what are your pronouns? And then you watch how their eyes light up, like, oh my God, I'm not invisible. You see me. Like, that's the most liberating feeling in the world.
But I realized I've caught myself with Kat. So even when we were in Orlando, there are times when I'd refer to Kat as him, and at times I'd refer to Kat as her or she.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd stop and I'd kind of scratch my head and I'd be like, okay, where am I going with this?
Yeah, of course.
And I'd be like,
everybody. You're not the only one. And, you know, the beauty of Cat, or not only Cat, and just everybody under the transgender umbrella, everybody's experience is different, and everybody, there is no one way to be a trans man. You know, there is no one way. So, in Cat, I mean, if Cat, you want to go.
I mean, for me, when it comes to pronouns, I'm a lot more liberal than most people. So some people listening might think that you saying he and then she and then he and then she, when it comes to me, would be offensive. For me, it's not. I feel empowered when someone doesn't know which to use, because I stir up the conversation of, what exactly do I call you? I get it at work all the time. And I'm so out there and so bright and colorful and just in so many people's faces without even trying to be, that I stir up the conversation of, well, what is other? And is there other?
Right.
I bring to people's minds a sense of otherness, and that I'm not, there's more than just what I am and what I see. And I love that, because that opens up spaces for other people. And of course, I've gotten those stupid questions. So, no, there's no stupid question. There are only, there's questions that are out of line when they're asked in the wrong tone.
Right.
There's a time and place for everything. While I am trying to hand you your change, is not the time to ask those questions. But feel free to stop me if you see me doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
I've had people try to give me an entire rundown of them not understanding, and I'm merely trying to put an item back on the shelf.
To tell them about, like, people who don't know.
Right.
Like, what do you suggest for people who don't really feel comfortable going back and forth, or don't know it's allowed without having that conversation?
My biggest default is they, them. If you don't know, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, if that's how a person identifies, go with they and them. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't say she or he, you say they are. They don't know how to drive. We're going to go with the PG version. They don't know how to drive.
Right.
You know, when someone's too far away, you're just like, that person over there, or they have a red dress on, or they have glasses. You don't, if you can't come to it, your default's always they. And people love to say that they is multiple people, when honestly, they is the absence of knowing. So if you don't know, go with they.
And if you can call a celebrity The Rock, I think you can call a person they. I think we put too much. I think we put too much thought into. I think we're personal. We're taking it personal. I mean, you don't. It's not that big of a deal. You know, you give names. First of all, it's not only the they them. Some people even have a dilemma with the changing of names. It's like you know, cisgendered people change their name legally all the time.
Right.
People give themselves little nicknames. You know, there's The Rock. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of celebrities with little nicknames, and we have no problem addressing these people like that.
Right.
But, you know, for casual reasons. But when it comes to making sure somebody is reaffirmed with their gender identity, I mean, you know, for me, one's a life. You know, with our suicide rate so high, I don't care what your opinion is. Just respect the person. Like, at the end of the day, you're playing with somebody's life. Unfortunately, we were born. That's basically what it is. We were born in the wrong body. Back in the day, in the medieval days, I like to call it, they used to think transgender people, that was a gender dysphoria was a mental illness.
Yes.
And as of recent, not too recent, I think it was in the beginning of the 2010s, around there, that they declared it's not a mental illness. And if you want to break that down, how do how do you treat mental illnesses with pills, right? You try to fix the composition of the brain, whatever it is that is going on. You are trying to fix damage to the brain or a disorder or inappropriate behavior.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a pill that we can take that's going to make us feel like what we're born with. That's not going to happen. That conversion shit is literally killing us and killing other LGBT youth. So transgender people and gender dysphoria is not a mental illness. It is a physical illness. That is why we go and we strive to change our physical appearance to match our mental, how we feel mentally.
Right.
And if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, I strongly suggest you do some research on the brain composition for people born as men and women compared to trans women. A lot of people would assume that a gay man's brain has the same electrical impulses as a woman. That was something theorized back in the day. But to everybody's shocking surprise, the trans man has the same brain wavelength as the cisgendered man, and the same thing for the trans women and the cisgendered women. So that just tells you the more research is done on us, the more you start to understand that gender is no longer a one or the other. It's a giant spectrum, and it's very natural. It's seen everywhere in nature. Hell, there are animals that can go back and forth. I'm waiting for us to unlock. Yeah, I'm waiting for us.
Seahorses do it.
Exactly. So I'm about to say, like, I'm waiting for scientists to be like, hey, here's the pill, and tomorrow you're good. That's all we're waiting for. We are sacks of meat that are at the mercy of our biological composition and what evolution has granted us. So
someone said in the pot, someone can have no interest in transitioning, but connect with the identity that people will assume about them. Gender, non-conforming, non-binary, androgynous.
Yeah, some people don't even transition. Let me rephrase that. A lot of people don't medically transition.
Right.
Me and James found it too because, we wanted to look more of the appearance. Hold on, 2 months ago.
So, Roy and I had a goal of what we wanted to look like, and in order to achieve that goal, it was going to take medication and time. It was going to take a lot of different things to achieve what we were looking for on the outside, lifestyle changes, everything in the middle. But when it comes to those who are non-conforming to gender, that have no desire for transition, it's just about finding where in the spectrum of your daily life, what things you do, what's going to make you feel like you've aligned, what's to make you feel like today I woke up, felt like this, and I walked out my house feeling this way, knowing that everyone saw me how I wanted to be seen. That is something that non-conforming are more attentive to rather than the transgender men or women, because they're the medical side of being transgender when it comes to fitting a binary. It's a very complex and social standardized type of viewing. So there's a lot that goes into socially transitioning for trans males and trans females, and there's also a lot that goes into gender non-conforming and those of the like.
Yeah, so you don't need to take hormones and have surgery to be the gender you desire to be. I know plenty of trans men who do not desire to take hormones. So they still, they have no change to their physical appearance, at least, in composition.
Right.
So their if you look at the body, when you go from female to male, there's always that in between. So a lot of trans men just don't desire to go through hormones, whether because of a health issue or maybe they just don't desire it, and that's okay. And that's the beauty of the spectrum. All you got to do is know their pronouns and respect the hell out of it.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you one of the questions that you guys probably get a lot.
Go ahead.
And
that's what this is for.
I am presenting this question for the very same or in the very same vein that you did the what is your pronoun?
Mhm.
When people come and ask you what bathrooms you use, how do you respond to them?
Well, so obviously now I look, I'm a man. You will not be able to tell the difference. So me and James are very fortunate that we are cis passing, and that we
Right.
don't get a lot of problems in the bathroom. Um, Really, the difficult, it's difficult when you're more in like that in the middle stage. Maybe
Mm.
you're not exactly where you want to be. So yeah, some people might get in the way and might, get. I've never had somebody get aggressive with me, but I've heard stories where people definitely do get aggressive.
Mm.
And I feel like it's more difficult. First, for trans women and gender non-conforming, non-binary people, it's it's not something I've experienced. James, you want to chime in? Okay.
I think that the best way for me to put it when it comes to answering that question was up until I started getting to a certain point in my transition where I felt like I could confidently go into the men's room.
Mhm.
That just, I don't know. There was just this flip in my brain that it was like, well, I'm too masculine to go into the women's room now, but I look pretty manly, so I don't think anyone's gonna bother me.
Little boys.
Yeah, I looked like I was this
Right.
14-year-old punk and being 21 years old.
Yeah. There was a point in time where I was still like in the middle, and
Yeah.
I needed to use the bathroom, and I always, my safe haven has, at work has always been the male's private bathroom.
Right.
I stopped going into the female's bathroom after I got nasty looks. Let me tell you, I one day had to go into the girls' bathroom because I couldn't hold it. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and I'm already kind of like ticked off for other reasons. So I'm like, let them say something to me. Everybody knows me in this building. So I go in, and when I come out, there's somebody who is probably a guest in the building and
Right.
is horrified when they see me come out of the female bathroom. And I was just not having it that day. And I shit you not, I had half a brain to tell her, you want to see that I am allowed to be in here, and I wanted to just lower my pants and be like, I belong in here.
Roy the Rebel.
I think what he's trying to say, other than I'll show the world my dick, I think what he's trying to say is, at the end of the day, I'm just trying to take a piss, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to pee. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom.
Right.
It's not, I've seen men, like, bearded and all, go straight into the women's room because the men's room's damn clogged. So it's just a matter of knowing what you're going to do when it comes to that. And honestly, it's so damn human. It's unfair that became a topic to people, Society
Right.
had to know, what bathroom are you using? Where are you going? My kids can't
Right.
go in there. And it's ridiculous because your kids pee, you pee, I pee, animals pee. Like, this is just nature. And it shouldn't be. I understand that in society we have a separating because that's fair. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it still comes down to, I just want to use the bathroom. And I think that Kat might actually have the best stories for this, honestly.
For me personally, when it comes to people asking me what bathroom do you use, I'm lucky enough that at my job we have a single stall, which everyone loves to use because it's
Right.
the only clean bathroom. But my best response to it is, if I gotta go and it's packed in one and it's not.
Wait, did I lose you guys? Hello? Roy? Kat? James? I'm still connected. Where did you guys go? Okay, I guess I'm not connected anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, we're learning to be transgender. My guests, as you can see around me, right here, Let me. Right. That's Roy. That one is James. That one over there, that's Kat. And I think I got them back. I don't know where you
You're there.
guys went.
We are in a very poor location right now, so our service isn't the best.
Oh,
But
okay. That explains it.
um, so back to what I was saying when it
Yes.
comes to the bathroom. My goal is I gotta go. If I gotta go, I gotta go. One of my funniest stories of having to go to the bathroom is I was at Walmart at 3 in the morning. The men's bathroom was absolutely destroyed and actually had tape all over it, like the caution tape. So
Yes.
the only available restroom was the women's. So I was lucky enough to be at Walmart with a cisgender female, and I told her, I was like, can you go scope it out and see if anyone's in there? No one was in there, according to, like, no one was just standing at the sink. So I was like, all right, I can go pee and be out in 30 seconds or less with washing my hands, hopefully.
Right.
Sadly, I went into my stall, used it as fast as I could, went out and washed my hands. And while I was washing my hands, someone came out of one of the other stalls and started screaming.
Oh no.
I completely understood until this person went to a police officer that was like one of the Walmart like night securities
Right.
and told them that I had did something inappropriate.
Oh no, no, no.
And the officer looked at me, looked at the 97-year-old in front of him and went, no. No. No.
No.
For
That
my
is
with my luck,
intelligence.
he happened to be watching the bathrooms. Like, he just happened to be looking in the general area. Saw that within the 30 seconds that I walked in and out,
Right.
he knew, yeah, that wasn't happening. Because he saw the interaction where the men's bathroom was closed.
Right.
And I needed to go. I got lucky with that experience because I genuinely just needed to go, and we need to pee. And I tell people all the time, I'm a safe haven. You can ask me, and if someone needs to go to the bathroom, I would gladly walk them to the bathroom.
Right.
I had no hair on my tongue. I've taken many of my transgender male friends to the men's room. I've walked with trans girls into the women's restroom. I don't care. If you need to go, you need to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Even in high school, I remember girls would complain about the extremely long line. I'm like, well, there is no line in the boys' room. Do you need me to go in with you? If so, sure. It's a bathroom.
Yeah.
What you're doing in there is private. There's a door in front of you when you close the stall for a reason. So nobody looks in and you don't look out.
Listen, I went to New York. My kid's mother, my first son was on the way. We went to New York. She wanted to use a bathroom. We were at the train station. I was like, let's go. Because you're pregnant. What are you going to do? You can't hold it. You can't join that line. Men's room it was. And, the guys, well, I guess probably because it's New York, they were like, oh, whatever.
Well, ain't nobody gonna say no to a pregnant lady.
Yeah. Right. It's just what it is. But yeah, it's one of those things that with education we end up in a better position with handling these situations. And it's either we are too self-absorbed to seek the education, or we're too ashamed. I don't know which it is, or more of which it is. For me, I'll gladly be the dummy and say, listen, I just don't know. Please tell me how this goes.
And that's usually the best way to handle something like that.
don't go into it knowing or pretending like you know or pretending like you have an answer to everything that has, that comes out of somebody else's mouth. Just be honest. I mean, that is the best way in a confrontation like that. Be honest. I don't know. Teach
Right.
me. Ignorance is bliss. I mean, and that's why we do this. I mean, this is not the first time we talk about this kind of stuff.
Right.
This is almost a conversation in our daily lives, especially when we meet new people who don't know anything about it.
Right.
And they're afraid to ask, and it's okay to not know. I mean, when you are accepting the fact you don't know, you're already growing because you let go of that ego,
Right.
and you understand that, hey, I can learn something new, and we all can learn something new. I mean,
Definitely.
I'm learning every day about my own community. Sometimes I be so clueless.
Where
So
can
yeah, yes.
because you guys are here and you guys are in the know, where can the average person, quote unquote average person, go to learn more as it relates to transgenders, for to be specific, because we're talking to you guys right now. Where can people go?
Well, first you have the best thing, and everybody has the best resource on them. And I don't care how old you are, everybody's got one. You got your phone.
Right.
So if you really don't know anything, I suggest you do a little research. And then if you're in the South Florida area, go to Wilton Manors. There's a lot of, just by driving by,
Yeah.
you can see a lot of nonprofits that literally their day-to-day is not only protecting and helping, the transgender people with resources, but their job is to educate everybody else. Because believe it or not, and this is something that a lot of people don't know, but even within our own community, a lot of gay people don't know about trans people. They don't know. And I've had gay people tell me, I know nothing about you. The first trans person I meet, and they ask me the same questions cisgendered people do, and maybe with the same amount of ignorance.
Right.
And so, don't be afraid to just come into town. And like I told you, Wilton Manors is a melting pot. If you're willing to get yourself out there and learn, but the internet, there's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of us on YouTube. That's what we do. We talk about it because, unfortunately, a lot of kids, a lot of youth are not allowed to access these resources. So they depend on YouTube and they depend on social media. And a lot of the time, that's the best place to go. I can promise you 99% of those questions can be answered on YouTube by literally from the source, from a transgender individual. And every video will be different based on their experience.
Their experience, right.
Exactly. So one person can be experiencing it completely different than the other. So every time you get a chance, have that conversation. You never know what you'll learn. Like I said, I'm learning about a lot of my transgender peers. We are not all made the same, but we all do want the same thing.
Here it is, someone in the pot saying every community will have local LGBTQ advocacy groups that works to educate and support the community, the LGBTQ community. Is that every community will have it, or every community should have it? Because
they should have it. They should. Not every community. First of all, not every community has the government on board with them.
Right.
Because in order to get nonprofits, you need to have, grants, and you got to be very involved. So a lot of places don't have that opportunity. Thankfully, in our area, we have more than a handful of nonprofits that are willing to help.
Right.
But I mean, like that comment mentioned, a lot of communities. I can tell you off the top of my head, Miami has like 2 or 3. Boca Raton, they have. Boynton Beach has Compass. You have most of Wilton Manors in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
So all you got to do is literally Google LGBT in Google and see what will come up. And sometimes they have. I know another good one. AIDS Health Foundation. They're actually getting very involved. So you can probably go on their website as well if you want to get some education on that.
That's AIDS Help?
AIDS Health Foundation. They are a nonprofit,
Okay.
and they're working with the community very closely to help bring resources to people who cannot afford them or are homeless and cannot get to them. So a lot of companies are now jumping on board to help. So I mean, keep an eye out. You might even see some commercials. I mean, you we're everywhere. You
Right,
just
right.
maybe didn't notice it.
Well, I personally know some people in the community. Thank you very much for putting that link in the stew pot. www.hrc.org/resources/glossary of terms. That's a link that people can check out to
Ooh,
get
I'm looking
some.
at it now. Ooh,
Yeah, yeah.
nice.
There
That's a nice
there
terminology.
Yeah,
Um,
there are a few people that I know personal that I'm connected with on social media that raise awareness. G Wright here in Fort Lauderdale, and Nikki Lopez, to name two of them that I think really stand out in the community, the community at large. And getting in touch with people like them and asking questions, people like you guys, Roy, Kat, James, you guys are a wealth of resource, and because you have the experience.
mhm.
Thank you, Nikki.
Say a lot of people.
you know you guys are a wealth of experience.
Okay, so cool. So they name drop Sunserve. Sunserve is very good. You have trans inclusive. You
Yeah.
have trans social. Those are a lot of people that we go to the groups, and they're very good people. You see them at Pride.
Mm.
We if you happen to go to a Pride, we always have groups. If you're ever looking for some trans enlightenment, look for the flag that has baby blue, pink, and white on it. So if you know that the gay flag is the rainbow,
Right.
and every sexuality has kind of a variation of the rainbow, but ours specifically is pink, like baby pink, like
Mm-hmm.
and baby blue and white. So
Okay.
you obviously, so if you see those colors in that order, and let me tell you, and a lot of social media, a lot of these artists, a lot of these musical artists are dropping all this kind of stuff. You'd be surprised as to how many artists you hear on the
Mm.
radio either identify as gender non-conforming or trans in some way. So keep an eye out for those colors.
Didn't
You'd be
know
surprised.
that. I did not know that.
Yes, and if you like, I can give you a link to somebody
Put
very
it in the pot.
popular.
Put it in the
Oh,
pot.
put it there, babe. I'm doing trans inclusive right now. Oh, you're putting trans. Put up Bad Bunny's music video on there.
Yeah,
No, I'm serious. It's
just
fun.
go ahead, put it in the stew pot.
Yeah.
If people get to see these things, it really opens up their. And listen, we cannot be any worse off for learning. We just can't. If you're not learning, you're not growing. If you're not growing, you're stagnant. Anything that is stagnant is dead.
Is dead, and growing comes with growing pains.
Yes, it does. So
It really does.
change is inevitable.
Definitely.
I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to share with us tonight. Um, it is it it's beyond words how grateful I am that you guys
Well,
would share.
you are an awesome person. Just to say, just from that interaction we had that weekend with you and your family, that was you. You guys are family to us. And if we ever think about chosen family and the people who support us 100% and we know we can count on, it is definitely you guys. And so thank you for first of all accepting us. Thank you for
Mm.
seeing us for who we are without judgment. And you'd be surprised how hard that it is to get that. And you guys have shown us nothing but love. and even in our darkest times, honestly. And we thank you, like, very, very much. You are one of those support systems that we are proud to have.
Well, I think we're just trying to be human.
Exactly.
I think that's about it. I know I am. So that's all I could go with. And as long as I stick to what I say, I try to have acceptance through enlightenment. It I would be a hypocrite not to not see you guys as family, and that's who you were that weekend. You were family, and you remain family.
Yeah, I mean, we got those pictures on our wall. Let me tell you, we got a collage, and
Like
literally, he cat printed them like not even the day after. Kept the tickets and posted them on the wall.
I love it.
And they're like, "We're never gonna forget this," and I'm like, "Not anymore. You're not gonna. You're gonna make sure we don't forget this."
I love it.
Literally.
I love it. I love it. I need to bring you guys back on because there's more that we have to talk about.
There's a lot more we have to talk about.
And because you know there's how we relate, and so not everybody was on board for learning about being transgender. I almost said transgenderism. And and even saying that, it sounds all scientific and fancy, but
Right?
no.
Keep it simple. I mean, if you can just call us men and women, you just make it so much easier for you guys.
Yeah, and that's what it boils down to, because the things that you have described tonight, the experiences that you've had, are the same experiences that everybody else who considers themselves to be normal go through at some point in time with some experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the very same things. Not being able to wear the name brand clothes and all your other friends have name brand clothes.
Of course, different.
You feel different. You feel left out. You feel,
Yeah.
not being able to wear your hair a certain way, not being able to get tattoos. All these little things.
We are social animals.
Yes.
So that's a given, but that's where our humanity kicks in.
Yes.
There's a difference between us and animals because, yeah, we're social animals and we have those tendencies like other animals to isolate the different one.
Mm-hmm.
The one tended not to survive in nature if we were to take it back to primitive thoughts. But we've evolved so much. Humanity took place, and that's literally it. That's the difference. If you have a little bit of humanity, I mean, it doesn't kill you to, it doesn't cost money to be nice to somebody.
Right.
It doesn't cost money to, respect their pronouns or whatever, maybe their new name, or just respect the fact that they have a new look.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take an arm and a leg or money. It's simple humanity. It shouldn't even have to be a thought. The fact that needs to be explained worries me as a community.
Yeah.
Where's the humanity? We're all in this together. At the end of the day, we're all in it together now when we at home, and we're going to be all in it together later.
That's right. Hey, listen, you guys, you take care.
Likewise.
We remain in touch.
Like always.
And we're definitely gonna have to talk some more because we have to. I personally have talked about various types of relationships on this show, and I need you guys to help educate me and the rest of the community. You down?
Yeah, I'm down. We're here. We're queer. I just had to say that.
We're here for all your questions, and in fact, we love questions. When you don't ask questions, it's kind of weird.
Right.
Because we know if you see us, if you look at us and don't ask questions, now I got questions.
I just can't with y'all. Listen, all right. Tell you what. We'll work out the details, and next week, I need to bring you back next week. Next Wednesday, we continue in Real Talk.
Well, definitely. We're looking forward to it.
Okay, cool. All right. You guys have a good night. Kat,
You too, stay
Roy,
safe.
James, thank you all.
No problem.
Anytime.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Being men and women, or not identifying with either. Choice is all yours. At the end of the day, like Carpet Face and Jimmy Lyons say in their song, their new song, we're just human. Hey Nikki, it's my pleasure. It's all about having acceptance through enlightenment.
Humans getting abused, telling you the truth, for that proof, check the roof, plus engaging you from moving the root of human, 99% of leaders and teachers are useless. I don't care what I've been told, outside the carnival, reflect the times of old, outlive for blinded souls, like Casper rhymes I scold, tech firms piggybacking on babies, mining gold.
There's a whole heap of love, I got a whole heap of love. There's a whole heap of love, be strong.
Let me tell you, there's a whole heap of love, I got a whole heap of love, you better trust me, brother, come on, listen to me, once loud, proud, now we got this aerial view, so when you're telling your crew, be prepared not to be scared of scaring a few. Loving humanity, whatever you do, cause I am human, and you are too. Come on. You are too. Get it together, come on, baby.
If anybody wants to connect with Roy, Kat, and James, they have Instagram pages or Instagram profiles. They're grammars. You can connect with Roy at Roy_Kaiser, Kaizer. James at Anime Fan of the Year. Yeah, that's ANIME, anime. And Kat is at Kat Femini, KATFEMINI, or Kat Femini. If you're Jamaican, you say Cat Femini. But go ahead, reach out to them. They'll be happy to hear from you. I want to thank y'all for joining me this week. Remember to look out for members of your community, even in this social isolation. And your community is not just the development that you live in, but it spreads far and wide. So the people that you used to pass on the bus, on the plane, on the boat, on the train, now you only think about them. These are members of your community. These are your neighbors. Do something good for one of them today. You never know who's going to do something good for you tomorrow. This is new music from Nikki Blaze. It's called Lost in Illusion. Be sure to catch me on Monday. Community and Finance. You don't want to miss that one. Believe me.
Lost in delusion, and now they reside in the state of confusion. Why is it that my race remains poor? My race sitting on the jail floors. My race fighting to knock down doors. Same race they stole from across the shore. My race that built this great nation, still trapped on my plantation. I see them love. Oh yes, I see them. Lost in illusion. Lost in illusion. I see them love. Oh yes, I see them. Lost in delusion. And now they reside in a state of confusion.
This one officially releases tomorrow.
Down in Darfur,
It's called Lost in Illusion.
for murder, hunger. Why can't we come together and help one another? It only takes but one to start a revolution. Please don't play into the illusion. Oh, I see them lost, yeah, I see them lost, yo, in a state of confusion. Wake up, yeah. Oh, I see them lost. I see them lost. I see them running. Oh, I see them running. Oh, my people lost. Oh, my people lost. Yeah.
This is where I bid you all a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world.
I see them lost.
And I encourage you all to
Lost in illusion.
be good.
Yeah.
But if you can't be good,
Lost. Oh,
be good at it. My name is DJ Kevin Stew, so I do it to you, for you, and with you every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday,
lost. Oh,
10 till midnight, right here, kevinstew.com. Take care until.
I see them love. Oh, yes, I see.
Be blessed.
Lost in illusion.
Good night.
I see them love. Oh, yes, I see them. Lost in delusion. And now they reside in a state of confusion. I see them love. Oh, yes, I see them.
Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The night shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. When being in the moment is priceless, consider the ability to share that moment. If you can video it, you can broadcast it. And Pulse E-Media Group has the tools you need. Weddings, birthdays, funerals, graduations, church services, parties, seminars, you name it. Pulse E-Media Group can provide you with a secure medium controlled by you to broadcast your event. Contact us at www.pulseemediagroup.com for more information. Pulse E-Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless.